Hello investigators and welcome to Until the End of Time. My name is Werner. A few days ago I did a video on the new parallel skids, and while I think that video was okay, I found that it was a bit too theoretical. There was not a lot of gameplay, or there was no gameplay at all in that video, and I felt that a lot of the concepts I handled were maybe a bit too abstract to really showcase why this new skids is so awesome. In the last few days I have a chance to play him a couple of times, and as such I would like to take the opportunity to actually showcase his ability, one of the decks I've built for him so far, and kind of go through his new scenario, because I think that's super cool as well. Before we get to the scenario, I will start by talking about his deck and what I've done with it. This is a standalone 9 XP deck, so there's no additional basic weaknesses, but there is a little bit of XP in there. And I think I should probably just recap what Parallel Skids does, first of all, in case you haven't seen that other video. So he's got the same stat line as the original Skids: 2 willpower, 3 intellect, 3 combat, and 4 agility, 8 health, 6 sanity. But we have a fast action to spend up to 3 resources, and we test a base skill value of 3 against a difficulty equal to the amount of resources just spent. If we succeed, we gain twice the number of spent resources. Only agility and wild icons may be committed to this test, limit once per round. And this Elder Sign is +1, choose a level 2 or less card in your discard pile, add the chosen card to your hand. On his backside he has a deck size of only 25, smaller deck, row cards 0 to 5, fortune cards 0 to 3, gambit cards 0 to 3, neutral cards 0 to 5. Still has On the Lam, Hospital Depths, and 1 random basic weakness. I have drawn the new Dendromorphosis from the Return to the Forgotten Age campaign. It goes into play, takes up both your hand slots, and then you have to deal it the damage and take a damage yourself in order to rip the plants out. And finally, there's another additional option, which has Fortune or Gambit cards upgrading and keeping the old versions in. I'm not going to go into this right now, because this deck does not make use of that. So let's talk about the deck. For this deck I've gone with what I would consider a pretty clue-leaning Skids with a bunch of evasion, because I know this scenario doesn't require me to fight a lot. It's also solo. And one thing you'll notice quite quickly is that I have a lot of singletons, aka only 1 copy in the deck. Specifically, of all of my assets, they are all only a single copy except for Lucky Cigarette Case. Lucky Cigarette Case, 2-cost asset that lets you draw a card whenever you succeeded a skill test by 2 or more. This is one of the cornerstones of the deck. We want to try to draw cards as fast as possible. Because we have a smaller deck size, we are able to draw into the key pieces we need very fast, and by only having a single copy of a lot of these assets that we only want once in our deck, we don't have a lot of dead draws. Basically, if we had 2 Leo De Lucas in our deck, for example, and we drew into the second one, it would only be an intellect icon, because we wouldn't play the second one while the first one was still in play. And obviously only being a single intellect icon doesn't make it a very good card. Now normally the reason you don't do that, the reason you include these 2 or 3 off copies, is because you want reliable access to these key assets. But because of our smaller deck size and all of these cards that are drawing us more cards, I'll get to them in a moment, we can kind of hedge against that, and we know we'll probably get what we need. So yeah, we have Lucky Cigarette Case for card draw. We also have Manual Dexterity and Perception. Perception can go onto any investigation chest. We have an intellect of 3, so we're pretty likely to succeed there. And Manual Dexterity, because it has agility icons, can go onto our special action, and then it draws us cards and gains us resources. I should also quickly make this. In addition, speaking of cards and resources, we have 3 copies of Easy Mark. Each one of these draws us a card and gains us 2 resources. If we have multiple copies at once, we can play them one after another without spending additional actions. And finally, we do have 3 aces. Now 3 aces is not a great card draw by itself, because you need to have all 3 copies for it to draw you 3 cards. But because we draw so aggressively, we can use this to get 1 automatically successful test at some point, and also gain an additional 3 resources. I think that this is a very powerful effect if you can do it repeatedly, as shown by a lot of Seeker decks, but I think this Skids deck can also probably do it repeatedly. Maybe not in this scenario, because this scenario is fairly short, but in a longer campaign scenario I could definitely see that happening. We also have, watch this, some more money. I think this might be overkill. We already make plenty of money with our Skids ability, but I like the card and I felt like throwing it in. We have Slip Away. As I mentioned, this scenario barely features any fighting, so I decided to just grab a evasion trick in case we need it. So far, it hasn't really shown off in testing yet, so I could probably throw this out, but I felt like just using the list I had. We have Catastrophe. This card is crazy good. 2 cost. Whenever we would hit a skill value of 0, we instead Elder Sign for 2 cost. Skids can take this because it is a fortune card, level 3. That is awesome. And he has a crazy good Elder Sign, which gets us recur cards. Fortunately not Catastrophe, because it's only a level 2 or less. It's not Yorick, who just recurs this forever. And finally, we also run Quick Thinking. If you succeed by 2 or more, we take an extra action. We can throw this into your special test. We can throw it into a lockpicks test or slip away test. Basically, just get an extra action when we need it. Now, for our one-offs, we have, as already mentioned, Leo De Luca. 6 cost asset is pretty expensive, but we do get an extra action, which during solo play is very powerful, right? Just having 1 more action every single turn. Very hard to argue with that. We also have Gregory Gry. Now, notably, we only have a single ally slot. We do not have Charisma. So we'll either have Gregory or Leo, but we could have, for example, Gregory first, have Gregory die to soak an attack or something, or discard an asset, and then we can play Leo later. If we get Leo first, maybe Leo has to soak something, or maybe we just don't bother at Gregory. But because we only have 1 copy, it's less impactful if we draw, if we draw it, because it's like, okay, at least we're not going to draw 2 copies of him. We have 1 lockpick. This scenario has not a lot of clues on location, so I felt only a single lockpick is more than plenty. If I was playing this deck in a normal campaign scenario, I would probably look to play at least 1 intel report, because it's also a really good way to get clues if you have lots of money. We have a very important card in the form of Well Connected. A 2 cost asset, limit 1 per investigator. We can fast action exhaust it to get +1 skill value for every 5 resources we have. We'll have quite a few resources in this scenario. Probably this will be a +1 or +2 most of the time. And that means that we can use this on our gambling test to get even more money. Now, this scenario does make using this card a little tricky, but we'll get to that later. But for now, just know this card is insanely good, and I'm actually considering running it 2 times in campaign, just like the Lucky Cigarette case, because it is so important to find it early. Right now it's only a one-off though. And finally, we also have a Lone Wolf. When our turn begins, if there's no other investigator location, we gain a resource. Well, guess what? We're playing solo, so this will always give us a resource. We have our normal signature and weakness. I have not put in the advanced ones. You know what? I guess I could. Yeah, change the plans. We are just using the advanced ones because I want to show those off. So let's just put in the advanced versions. So I've talked about this in the other video, but at any point you can choose to replace the advanced versions of the signatures. Or sorry, replace the basic version with the advanced versions. So the advanced version is 0 cost, so 1 cheaper. We can play during any fast action window. And then until the end of the round, non-elite enemies cannot attack us. At the end of the round, we can disengage from every enemy and move to 2 locations away. So we can use it as sort of a taunt or elusive. It's a way to manage enemies and make them not a threat for a round. However, advanced hospital depth also means that we have to spend 9 resources on it, or we earn 2 fewer experience points. So these 2 go away. And I already mentioned I have Dendromorphosis as my weakness. That's not going to work. Just going to group all of these together. You can see 28 card deck, 25 plus the basic weaknesses. Alright, now let's talk about All or Nothing. So this is a side story scenario that can be included in any campaign, but you can also play it standalone. But when playing this scenario, you must have Skids O'Toole as one of your investigators. It's actually kind of hard to read from here, but I'll try to read the flavor text. You're willing to do whatever it takes to make things right. Your mother's massive hospital debts won't pay themselves off, so you've come up with a plan. Gambling. The adrenaline rush of going all in and risking everything on the mercy of the cards is also a nice perk. Lately it feels as though life has dealt you a bad hand, but you're often able to turn terrible hands into winning ones. Who needs skill when Lady Luck is on your side? Your game of choice is blackjack. Somehow the right cards tend to come up at the right time, and you try to hide your elation when the dealer busts yet again. You seem to go on a hot streak every night as stacks of chips grow ever taller in front of you. Such hot streak could go a long way to paying your debts, but your luck often draws the ire of both the dealer and your fellow players alike. you know what to stop. Over the years, you've acquired a reputation for winning that some call cheating. As a result, you've been forced to keep a low profile and gamble at a rotating list of venues. There's one venue where you revel winning over all others, the Clover Club. Vast amounts of money are at stake every night at the speakeasy, but it's controlled by the O'Banion gang, intimidating, unscrupulous, ruthless. No one wants to draw the attention of the gang, as your reputation surely does. But the Clover Club has a bottom line that, above all else, must be maintained. The reason O'Banion are not fond of being taken advantage of, and will use any means necessary to prevent it. Here, the house always wins. Surely that will change tonight. You pull your collar up and walk into La Bella Luna. The restaurant is virtually empty. A faint sound of bombastic music is coming from the back of the establishment. It's clear where all the patrons are. All you can think about is getting a drink and winning big. Proceed to setup. Okay, so there's a number of encounter sets we have to take from the core set and the House Always Wins from the Dunwich Legacy expansion. We can choose to use the Return to the House Always Wins cards if we want to. I have chosen not to do that. We remove the original scenario cards and replace them with the ones provided in the All or Nothing encounter set. And I think that's everything. We start at La Bella Luna, and yeah, we are ready to begin. And our goal for the scenario is to make a lot of money. Agenda 1A, eyes all around you. The Clover Club is filled with mobsters and gamblers from all walks of life. Winning big without causing alarm may not be as easy as you thought. Action: if you're in the Clover Club card room, spend any number of clues. You cash in your chips. Gain 5 resources for every clue just spent. Forced: if Skids is defeated, resolution 2. And 11 doom. Playing cards. You don't want trouble, so best not to cause it. Try not to go all in too soon, or you'll likely take the bounce. Investigators cannot resign. The Clover Club Pitbulls gains aloof. And forced: after a criminal enemy is defeated, place 1 doom on the agenda. Objective: at the end of the round, if an investigator has 15 or more resources, advance. And then finally, our Chaos tokens, all or nothing on easy or standard. We get -1 for each clue we have on the skull, -2 or -4 if we have 10 or more resources on the cultist. Tablet is a -2 if we fail, lose 3 resources, and a other thing is a -3 if we fail, Schizo tool takes a holler, which, spoiler alert, we're the only investigator. And this is our chaos bag. +1, 2 zeros, -1s, -2s, -3, -4, skull, tablet, other thing. The whole fun stuff. Well, let's try our opening hand, shall we? That's a weakness, so we get to redraw that. Okay, so we have 1 copy of Easy Mark. Not the best. Optimally, we'd like to play 2 copies of this. So we might keep this one and try to mulligan into another. We have our signature cards. This one's not that useful right now because we just like to have events that don't cause us... like this is good for when we have enemies, but that's later in the game, so we get rid of that. We have a lucky cigarette case in our opening hand. That is awesome. We have a Lone Wolf, which is also great, by the way. Just get an extra resource for the rest of the game. And we have a Manual Dexterity, which we're actually going to keep because this lets us gamble on our first turn for probably 2 resources, and then also draw a card. So it replaces itself, and we draw into Leo de Luca. That's interesting. I don't think we can play him turn 1, but we might be able to play him turn 2 or 3. And the Bella Luna is 2 Shroud, 1 Clue, action to resign, which we cannot do because we cannot resign. And the Clover Club Pit Boss has aloof, but otherwise 3 combat, 4 health, 3 evade, criminal and elite, praise on the highest intellect, has hunter, and after an investigator at his location gains any number of clues, he readies, engages, and makes an immediate attack. Deals 2 damage, and he does have victory of 1. However, I believe that if we kill an enemy, we get a doom, so we probably don't want to do that, or at least not early. Our first thing we're going to do is play our Lucky Cigarette Case. So when we succeed at a skill test by 2 or more, we draw a card. Then we're going to take a fast action to spend 2 resources. So we're now testing 3 versus 2. We're going to commit Manual Dexterity. 5 versus 2. We draw a 0. We succeed by 2. We draw a card. We succeeded with manual dexterity, so we draw a card. And we get our money back. We spend 2 resources into this, and we get twice that much back. We'll go back up to 5. We also drew Dendromorphosis. Luckily, we did not have any assets in our hand yet, so we'll just take... So the thing is, we only have a single lockpicks in our entire deck. We can just keep this here, and in fact, it can soak 1 point of damage for us, so we're just going to keep it here. Our second action is going to be to play a Lone Wolf. No, wait, hold on, I'm doing this wrong. Our second action is going to be to investigate, because we're going to commit this perception. If we draw something better off the perception, we might want to do that as our third action. I doubt it, but it's always good to plan ahead. We draw an Elder Sign, we get our manual dexterity back, because our Elder Sign lets us choose a card in our discard pile and add it to our hand. Perception is not in our discard pile yet, so we cannot choose it. We do draw a card and get this clue. And then we play our Lone Wolf, because our plan has not changed. Okay, well this was a pretty good first turn. I would actually say it's an excellent first turn. We have gotten ourselves basically 5 resources worth of clues. And we've got ourselves set up pretty well already. Like, this Lone Wolf is going to give us 1 resource every turn for the rest of the game. And the Cigarette Case will probably draw us quite a few cards. So, all good. We go to... technically we first go to enemy phase. This guy has Hunter, he moves here, but he has Aloof thanks to the text on the first act, so he does not engage us. We ready everything, we draw a card, it's Gregory, we get a resource. It's kind of interesting, we now have Gregory and Leo in our hand. We might want to play Gregory first, get all the money off of him, and then finish by playing Leo. We go to the first Doom out of 11, we draw our encounter card. It is a Twist of Fate. We reveal a random token from the Chaos bag, and then depending on what we reveal, we take some measure of nasty stuff. Well, we draw a Tentacle token, we take 2 horror. Okay. Well, it definitely puts me on track to play Gregory here, because that gives us a lot of money, plus we can use it to soak some horror, because that was a big horror hit. So our first action is going to... hold on. So we get our resource from Lone Wolf, and now I have to think for a second. Because I know that the Clover Club Lounge has an ability where you can discard an ally asset to get 2 clues. And we only have 2 allies in our entire deck. We have both of them in hand. The problem is that we don't have enough money to play Leo without it setting us back too far. I think we're gonna do the Gregory thing, and we'll see how it goes from there. So we play Gregory Gry, who comes in with 9 resources. So the way Gregory works is we can, whenever we perform a skill test, we can spend up to 3 resources from him and then get that many resources if we succeed by that much. So if, say we succeed by, or we spend 2, we have to succeed by at least 2. Which is exactly what we're planning to do, because for our next trick, we're going to gamble again. Commit manual dexterity. We're gambling for 2 and we're putting 2 resources in with Gregory. We draw a -2. Oh wait, sorry, you shouldn't have. My bad. We're gambling with 1 with Gregory. I'm so sorry. So yeah, 5 versus 2. I was doing slight head maths. We're always gambling with 1 on Gregory. And I'm not quite awake yet. So yeah, 5 versus 2. We draw -2, which puts us at 3 versus 2. We get our 1 resource from Gregory. And we get our 4 resources back for succeeding. And we draw a card. We did not succeed by 2. We do not get a card from Cigarette Case. But we are making pretty steady dosh. Do people still use that word? Let's move into the lounge. Here we have the ability to discard an ally asset, gain some resources, or gain some clues. But really we're here to gamble, right? Or do we want to check out the backstage first? The darkened hall there. It's calling to us. Let's go to the back halls. Or at least let's go to the card room. Card room 3 Shroud. This one's the big important ability. During Act 1, you can spend an action and 2 resources to reveal a random Chaos token. If it is an Elder Sign token, you get 2 clues and 2 resources. If it is an even number, 2 resources, or 2 clues, sorry, an odd number, nothing happens. Or a special token. So basically, here the gambling happens. And this is where we can get the most of our clues. One thing that's very important is we want to stay below 15 resources so we don't accidentally advance and lose access to these clue abilities. Regardless, that was our turn. The pit boss is going to keep following us. We draw a card, again a resource. Ooh, we drew our lockpicks. Might be time to get rid of the plants growing out of our arms. But first we have to contend with the Mythos Phase. Is a false lead. We have one clue. So we test intellect 4. For every point we fill by, we have to place a clue on our location. Fortunately, this is not too bad. We fill by 1. We put our clue on this location. Shroud here is only 3, and we didn't drop a lot of clues. Okay, well, we get a resource from Lone Wolf. I am just going to take a direct damage to deal damage to Dendromorphosis. So that tears the plants apart. Then I'm going to play lockpicks. Yes. Lockpicks, action to investigate with agility and intellect added together. If you succeed, if you do not succeed by at least 2, we remove a supply. Our second action is going to be to lockpick here. Oh, that's really unfortunate. Okay, we autofail, so we lose one of our charges. Well, that's unfortunate. Let's gamble. We'll gamble for 1, and we'll put 1 Gregory book in there. We do in fact succeed by 1, so we get our Gregory book back, and 2 for Skids ability. And now we have to decide very carefully what we want to do next. We can't pick this clue up next turn because the pit boss will be at our location. So I think our best bet is to actually move down here to the darkened hall, which puts 3 back hall doorways into play. And we have to go back for that clue. If we hadn't autofilled, that would be a lot better. Which is true of a lot of situations in Arkham. And these 3 doorways, which are all unmarked, go here. We'll have an upkeep. Well, we've drawn 3 aces so far, so with a little bit of luck. Hunting Shadow, we have to spend a clue or take 2 damage. Well, unfortunately, only one option there because we lost our clue. Get a resource from Lone Wolf. Let's see what we're doing here. Our card draw hasn't been amazing, which is kind of unfortunate. Let's move into this hallway. We have found the art gallery, a 2-shroud location, but after we fail a skill test while investigating the art gallery, we lose 2 resources. Well, lockpicks, time to shine. This time, hopefully a little bit better. Okay, good. We're at a 7. Oh, sorry. I haven't played with Gregory in a while, guys. I'm so sorry. Okay, I should just be putting Gregory on lockpicks and our gambling every single time because we want to get rid of the money. So we have 7. Difficulty here is 2, so we succeed by 3, I think. Well, hey, now that's a sight to see. 3 aces, they line up. Alrighty. So we could just gamble for a lot of money, but if we do that, we end up actually advancing, which we don't want to do. So our trick instead is going to be action, action, move here, move here. We found the back alley. Action to resign, we can get out this way. Fortunately, we still cannot resign. The good news is that we found a place to resign that isn't the La Bella Luna. The pit boss moves here. Oh, sorry, hold on. Before we actually go to the end of the round, I do want to gamble for 1 and put in a Gregory book. So we get our Gregory book, we get our money back, and then we go to upkeep. Sorry if that went a little bit too fast. Basically, Skids' ability can be done outside of his own turn. So I just decided, you know, I haven't done it yet, let me just do it real quick because it's a good ability. Okay, so now we're at 13 resources. We have to be careful. If we go too high, we'll advance the act, and we don't want to do that. Though fortunately, we only do it if we have that much money at the end of the round. So there are ways around that. We have Cursed Luck. We get -1 skill value during skill tests, which is annoying, but we can manage. Okay, get a resource. We will Lone Wolf, put a resource in when we lockpicks, Actually, let's put in all 3 of our resources that are left here. Because we are now testing at 6 versus 1. So we're betting 3 money off of Gregory. We get all 3 bucks. We also get the draw card. And we also get rid of the cursed luck. So this is now a problem-ish, because we have 17 resources. So if we're not careful, we're going to advance. Fortunately, we are careful, and we'll play Leo De Luca. Going back down to 11 and discarding Gregory, who didn't soak anything. You useless twat. Okay. Our goal right now is to get the pitballs to move here so we can run back into the casino and start gambling again. And we're going to just draw a card, which I know will put me over hand size, but I can discard this lucky cigarette case because I don't need to. He moves here. I'm not going to gamble because that would put me at too much money. Ooh, very nice. And we go to the Mythos Phase. We are at 5 Doom out of 11, and this scenario only has a single agenda deck, so we have to be very careful. We draw a Mobster. So the first time I played, actually the first 2 times I played this scenario, I somehow thought that the mob got aloof. Unfortunately, they do not. This guy does not have aloof. So I'll get my resource for upkeep, and then I have to figure out what I'm doing. I think the most sensible thing is to try to evade him. He doesn't have Hunter, so I can leave him here. And the biggest problem here is getting a way to get rid of my 3 aces money, so I can't use 3 aces. I think I'm just going to commit quick thinking and just going to try to evade him. Oh, also, sorry, I get an extra action from Leo, which I completely forgot. Elder Thing, that sounds bad. It is a -3. If we fail, we take a horror. We do not fail because we're at 5 agility, thanks to the icon on quick thinking, but we don't get our quick thinking action. Which is fine, we still have 4. So the question is, I know that this probably also has a clue on it, but I kind of just want to gamble so I can get out as soon as I can, because I don't have enough clues yet. Move, move, and I'll just lockpicks. Because it's probably going to get me another card draw. It does. It's a perception. Card draw into card draw, always a good idea. Yeah, okay, so we go to the enemy phase. We're still not gambling because we're dangerously close to advancing. Okay, well, at least we have a lot of tricks here. We have 2 easy marks. As you can see, this deck is going to be ridiculously wealthy if you play it normally. Because right now we are actively trying to reduce the amount of money we have. Okay, every hunter enemy moves once. This guy, or sorry, every criminal enemy moves once. However, we ignore, or the pitball still ignores us because it has aloof, and we do not have to surge it, even though we did not take an attack here. That is also does kind of annoy us because the pitballs is in the way, and we can't just run past the mobster. So we'll have to figure out what to do. I mean, I haven't taken too much damage yet. Maybe it's worth taking 1 attack from this guy just to make then be able to evade him. Although that still leaves us at the same location as him. Let's try something else. We get a resource from upkeep. We're also at 14 resources, so we have to try something else. We move here. We spend 2 resources. Oh, sorry, I should read that ability fully. We can action to spend 2 resources, gain 2 clues from your token pool, and draw 2 cards. And we have had a drink. So we draw 2 cards, gain 2 clues from the token pool. Hilarious as it might sound, I really actually want to draw into what is his weakness called? The hospital debt, because that's a place to slouch all my resources. So yeah, I think with 7 cards in deck, I don't know if that's worth the risk to draw 2 with easy mark and risk not drawing it. Yeah, the situation is less than ideal, because I'm going to have to discard a couple of cards here. Although, I could just... Okay, I'm gonna lockpicks here, empty location, commit perception. The other side? That's nice. So we search our deck for a card. Oh, I'm gonna get Gregory Gripe back. Because there's still this location over here where we can discard an ally for 2 clues. And that's, you know, sounds good. We draw a card from perception and we also draw a card from cigarette case. We haven't hit our weakness yet. I want to stay where I'm at because I want the pit balls to come to me. So I'm just going to draw another card. Still haven't hit my weakness. Okay. We go to the enemy phase. This guy moves here. That guy stays where he is. We go to upkeep. And first we ready everything, draw a card, gain a resource, and then we have to check our hand size, which is significantly exceeded. I think, so I only have 8, I can only keep 8 cards in hand. I think I'm just going to keep the 3 easy marks, the 3 aces, Gregory, and 1 Eucatastrophe, and that's it. Because this will let me draw 3 cards, this will let me draw 3 cards, and gain a bunch of cash. I don't know if I got my resource and upkeep yet, I think I did. Okay, 7 out of 11. We have to keep an eye on the clock, because once it dooms out, we're in trouble. Ooh, and that's bad. Okay, so we draw Arousing Suspicions, which puts a doom on every criminal enemy at our location, which puts a doom on the pit boss. We're not going to kill the pit boss, because that also puts a doom on the agenda, but that just basically is a sort of Ancient Evils. We get a resource, and I think we're ready to go. Okay, move here, spend an action, chuck Gregory to get 2 clues here. So I have 7 clues now. Now these are each worth 5 resources, so we're about to go pretty high up in the resource chain. I'm gonna play an easy mark, 15, 16, and that also draws me a card. Then, after it's finished, I can play another easy mark at no cost. So there's the hospital debts, and then play the 3rd one. We've now drawn through our deck already. We are going to immediately spend 3 resources on this advanced hospital debt. I'm trying to see if there's some way to avoid me advancing the act here. Because it advances at the end of the round. Move 1 resource from your resource pool to hospital debts. I don't think there is. Because I can play the well connected, but that puts me at 15. And then I still advance. So we have sort of messed up a bit, but that's okay, question mark. Because we still have 7 clues, which is a decent amount. I guess I could, actually hold on, I could voluntarily lower my resource amount. Here we go. Play well connected first. And then I'm going to make the worst gamble ever. I'm going to spend 3 resources to gamble at 3 versus 3. I'm not going to throw anything in. I draw a -3. I fail. Okay, so having done that, we now no longer risk advancing. This guy hunts us. And then we go to upkeep. We have to draw from an empty deck. Fortunately, actually, technically, shuffle, draw a card. Then we put a hover on Leo. We also get a resource from upkeep. Just check hand size is fine. 8 out of 11. We have to go. False lead. Okay, so this is what I was afraid of. We have to test intellect 4. For every point we fail by, we have to put 1 of our clues in our location. We do not want to lose any of our clues here. Fortunately, we don't have to. We commit all 3 copies of 3 aces. So if that is done, the test automatically succeeds. In fact, the skill value, I believe the difficulty is considered to be 0. Therefore, we also get to draw a card with cigarette case. Then we also draw 3 cards and gain 3 resources. And then we draw from the 3 aces. Get the money from 3 aces. Get this thing out of here. Our goal is to advance next turn, or to escape next turn. Which means that we're finally fine to let it all advance. So we're going to move. We're going to... Oh, we get a Lone Wolf resource, of course. First, before we do anything else, we're gonna gamble. Gamble for, let's do for 3. We'll well connected. So now we are at 5 versus 3 because well connected gives us +1 for every 5 resources. We have awkwardly 14, but we'll commit a manual dexterity as well. So now we are at, need to keep track of it, 7 versus 3. And I'll also watch this for 3 resources. 8 versus 3. We draw a skull, which is, oh, did we just hack up massively? Hold on. So we get +1 skull value for every 5 resources. So this is +2. We start at a base of 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we had one more, so the skull is -1 for every clue we had. If we had one more clue, we could have played Eucatastrophe and saved this. Fortunately, we did not. We lose all our money instead, or we lose everything we throw in there instead. Well, that's the gambling life. Let's not learn from our mistakes. We'll spend 2 resources to reveal a random token to hopefully get 2 clues. We reveal a even number that is 2 clues. And once more, spending 2. An Elder Sign. We get 2 clues and we get our resources back. And then for our last action, we're going to cash out. We have 11 clues. Well, no, not 18, 11. So each of these, for the action on the agenda, turns into 5 resources. We go to 59 resources. But we will immediately spend 3 of them to put onto hospital debts. I still think we're going to advance this turn. Okay, we go to the enemy phase. Pit boss moves here. We ready. We draw a card. We gain a resource. Seem kind of paltry now. And then we have to advance because we have more than 15 resources. Feeling the heat, fueled by luck and adrenaline, you've won a bit too much and have failed to keep a low profile. The Albanians know you're here and despise having their money stolen by cheaters. A commanding voice from La Bella Luna calls out, "That O'Toole vermin is here! Split up and get him!" You freeze and your mind clears at the sound of your name. It may be time to stop. Once oblivious mobsters now rise and pursue you with fierce determination. Do you confront your trouble before escaping out the front, or do you try to find the back door? Spawn the set-aside Sobian Riley enemy in the La Bella Luna. Each investigator spawns 1 set-aside Clover Club bouncer with the enemy engaged with them. So we have this very, very nasty enforcer. 562 elite. When she engages you, for every 5 resources you have, you lose a resource. So at this point we would lose 11 resources, which is a lot. And after somebody at her location gains the resources, during the investigator phase, she ready engages and attacks that investigator. Pretty nasty. We also get a bouncer. And it reads 131, humanoid and criminal. While the bouncer is engaged with you, it gets +1 fight and +1 evade for every 5 resources we have. So it currently has 12 of both of those. And we can spend 3 actions or 3 resources to parlay. Test intellect 2. If we succeed, it disengages and exhausts. So basically you evade it, and it isn't ready. It also has victory 0 and 2 deals 2 damage when it attacks. We are now on Act 2A. Hot on your tail. Collect your winnings and escape. Each criminal enemy gains Hunter and +1 health. When an investigator resigns, we put all of our resources on this act. Collect as many resources as you can and get out. When each undefeated investigator has resigned, advance. We have lost our clues at this point. Or spent them, rather. Okay, now I don't know why that's not working. It's time to go. But first we have to do our Mythos Phase. We draw Trust of Fate. This is fine. We draw Skull, which is another 2 horror. Slightly less fine, but it's okay. We get a resource for upkeep. Trying to see if there's some way for me to make just a little bit more money this turn. Oh, we're also engaged with the Clover Club pit boss now because he no longer has aloof. I mean, it's time to go, right? And now it's time to showcase why Skids' new signature is so awesome. Though, so what I want to do is I want to pay off hospital debts, and I preferably go to 60 resources. But I think that might just be a little bit too much. Let's start by just playing the game like we want to play it. We'll play on the lamb. Yeah. So fast play during any fast trigger window. Until the end of the round, non-elite enemies cannot attack me. At the end of the round, may disengage from every engaged enemy and move to the location away. I'm hoping to have resigned by that point, so let's not hope it gets to that. But we can now move. This guy engages us but does not attack. Move. And now we can take an action to resign whenever we want to. Before we do that, we're going to try to gamble. We're gambling for 3, obviously. Because we can throw in well connected, which gets us a lot. And we'll also throw in this manual dexterity, because hey, we might draw a card. Yeah, we do draw a card. We also get back double what we invested. So we go to 61, which... Oh no, wait, this works. We spend 3 resources to pay off hospital debts. So there's now 9 tokens on there in a heap. Wait, no, we don't have the actions left to resign if we play easy mark. Oh, that's a shame. Sorry, Mom. We had to pay the hospital debts. We didn't get everything. But we will take an action to resign. And we made off like bandits. Ladies and gentlemen, new Skids. He's awesome. What a rush. All right. We have to advance. The thrill of victory. You run out the door and sprint around the corner, winning is in hand. The adrenaline rush is like no other. Once at a safe distance, you count your money. You take a deep breath and are relieved. This outing put a big dent in your debts. Surely this night will only add to your reputation. Lady Luck is always on your side. Resolution 1. Resolution 1. Heart pounding and exhilaration coursing through your veins. You don't know what gives you more rush. Winning money from the Urbanians or escaping from them. This night is proof of what you always thought. Skids O'Toole always wins. Every investigator earns victory X. Right now that is 2 points for the 2 locations. In addition, if the number of resources in Act 2A is, well, in this case it is 58, so it's 50 or more, Skids O'Toole earns 2 bonus experience and begins the next scenario with 5 additional resources. Wowzers, that's good. And then finally, Skids O'Toole may either upgrade On the Lam to its advanced version or downgrade the advanced version of Hospital Debts to its original version. So we have basically, because we beat the scenario, we are now able to reduce, we were able to put the old Hospital Debts, which only requires 6 resources to clear, back in our deck, while we get to keep the awesome advanced On the Lam. Okay, I hope this was a reasonable demonstration of both the new scenario and of Parallel Skids. I feel like Parallel Skids does a lot of things that I've wanted to do an investigator to do for a long time, so I'm really happy with him. His gambling nature is really fun, and it really does make you feel like you're pushing your luck when you're trying to gamble with him and figure out which skill cards to commit and get lots of money. Obviously not always 58, but you can get up there. I do want to mention, I don't think this is the only way to build Skids. I think there are a lot of other valuable builds out there. Also, in this specific case, I didn't put any weapons or anything in. Obviously, if I had done that, I might be able to kill the pit boss, get myself an extra turn, and also get an extra victory point. So there are reasons to want to include weapons for like fighting events, backstab, stuff like that. But as it sits, I think Parallel Skids running around kind of like Finn Edwards, but with way more gambling. I mean, that's an awesome deck. I want to play that. In fact, I am playing that. So yeah, I love it. I do want to say I think the All or Nothing scenario is a bit easier than Read or Die, which is Daisy's parallel scenario, which was very difficult. This feels a little bit more doable, especially as given that even if you don't get a lot of resources on the Act card, you still get to upgrade your signature or downgrade your weakness as long as as long as Skids resigned, which feels like it definitely incentivizes you to play this scenario even if you don't otherwise think you can get all the resources you need, because it at the very least means that you get the better weakness, or the better signature rather. And I kind of like that. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily want to play this scenario in every single campaign I've ever played, but hey, it's It's not a bad scenario. I kind of like it. It definitely has a rush to it, right? It definitely has that moment of like, okay, we're cashing out and we gotta run when we do that. So yeah, great design, love it. Love how On the Lam make this like is definitely like this powerhouse at the end of the scenario where it's just like, okay, everybody, we're leaving. I hope this video helped showcase Parallel Skids. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you until the end of time.